Good day, hello, welcome again to the episode of Disruption, wherever you're joining us from. I'm your host, Swatope Shola, and if you haven't subscribed to this podcast yet, please do hit that subscribe button, share with as many people as possible. Also follow us on Twitter at disruption_AI. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to interact with us through our social writers stand in this current age of AI. The title of this episode is The Writer, the Story, and AI. I'm going to take that again. The Writer, the Story, and AI. But before we begin to dive into all of these discussions, I will allow my guests to introduce themselves. Teni, you might go first.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Teni Adeniyi. I'm a graduate of English language with literature. I'm a creative writer, a content writer, and an intermediate French learner and speaker. I'm here because, of course, there is something that connects me and writing together. So I think that's majorly it for now. I think when we go in the conversations, a lot about me will be discovered. So let's just keep it that way for now.
Yes, and I think I should also add for people who don't know, Tony is a Chelsea fan, so up the Blues.
Let's go.
Hey everyone, I am Victor Odolade, and it is very difficult to follow up Teni's introduction because we're talking about someone that went to school for several years to learn what we're about to talk about today and speaks multiple international languages. How do I compare? But I am Victor. I've been writing seriously for about 7 years now, and I have a couple of anthologies or collections to show for it, and it would be nice to talk about literature or creative writing as it relates to.
I genuinely don't understand Victor. I think when he said couple anthology, you guys, he's trying to be humble.
Yes, Victor tries to be humble.
There is really nothing couple about it, though. But okay.
Victor, how do you
know what you're talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
For those who don't know, Victor is actually a published author. I think he has published about five
Why is the aggression?
Right?
He has a series. What will I even call it? Now he has an anthology. The three of them is like a sequence. He's just trying to be humble. You people should not believe him.
He's too modest.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And also, let me add, Victor is a, what again? Man U fan, Abby? I mean, I shouldn't mention that, but unfortunately. Okay, so before we dive into AI and creative writing, let's talk about the origin. I mean, your origin. Teni, what has your journey in creative writing been like? You mentioned that you studied English. I mean, graduated first class English from RUN. Was it your choice to study English and venture into literature language?
It was never my choice. It was never a dream, and it was something I never wished for.
Then how did you come into it?
For the record, I know a lot of people don't know I was supposed to be an engineering student, civil engineering at that.
Okay.
So when I got into secondary school, my first year, I realized that I do not think I can survive. I had about 4 maths teacher and I would never pass maths. And I just realized I was not born to struggle. So I had to tell my parents that before it's too late, let's drop out the engineering. It's still painful to today because I really love engineering. But it was as at then, I was not mature enough to know that I could have done better. I just did not want to try. I did not want to struggle. I think that was my fear. I hate struggling. So I did not want to struggle academically. I just told my parents that I'm not doing it again. I want to go to art. Mind you, when I was going to the art department, I had no idea what I wanted to do there. I just know that government was always fun because of my dad. My dad likes government history and all of those things. So I just knew that, okay, I'll be okay. Fortunately, I went there and I was very okay. I was so okay. I think I finished consecutively the whole term, I'll be the whole session as like the best in my department. It was so okay. And like whatever made me think I could do engineering was deceiving me. I was just being delusional. So when I finish now, African parents, if you're in the art department, the only subject or the only career that makes sense in art and humanity as they are concerned is law.
Victor, how do you respond to that? Sorry, Teni. Victor, how do you respond to that?
For real.
Well, if I was to respond to that, I did law. And we'll talk about that later. But I don't necessarily agree, because even as I did law, I ended up spending a lot of time and mental resources to learn about literature, to learn about languages, to learn about history. I mean, it's in my LinkedIn. It's in my LinkedIn bio. If one was to check that, you'd see the fact that yes, law is the first thing there, but I mentioned being a writer, I mentioned being a history and international relations enthusiast. So the idea that law is the only good thing you could do if you were an arts and humanities student, I don't really agree with it. I don't agree with it at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I genuinely understand where Victor is coming from, and I get it, because this is our own generation. We're the one trying to be like the change maker and the one trying to convince people. But if you speak to maybe, should I say Gen X, or let me just say, if you speak to our parents' generation about art and humanities, aside those that are into like education, speak to an average parent, our parents' age, they will tell you that they believe that the only thing valuable if you are in art is that you should study law. Like if you are telling them about other courses, they won't be asking you that what are they doing there. Like it's very disrespectful. Imagine when I got admission to study English and somebody's asking me that. So they used to do it in university, and I'm like, I have no words for you.
Disrespectful. Wow.
Let me just leave you alone. So when I got there, everybody had the expectation that Teni, you must study law, you must do this, you must do that. I didn't even have any say. All I knew was that they wanted me to study law. And because God is iron breaker, he had his own plan. I wrote JAM twice because they wanted me to study law, and I still did not end up studying law.
Wow.
So like they went as far as, it's not like I did not pass. So I had very good high scores in JAM, but they were not just always giving me admission. Then my dad was like, okay, let's try private school. At least bad as it's bad, private school will give you admission. Even the private school that we tried did not give me law. So I guess that was when my parents gave up, and they said I should just do the English. Even though I wish that if I had known more about history and international studies, I would have studied that instead of English. Still, I do not regret studying English. I think I should hold on to that. I do not regret studying English because it has been eye-opening. I think that's one thing everybody should know. It has helped my life a whole lot. People think when you study English just to speak English. And trust me, that's like the least of the reason why you are there. There is so much because of English. I've learned history. I've learned even like some part of sciences. Like when you talk about Plato, Aristotle, literally those guys were a lot. Like I've learned so many things, and it's even because of English that I am a little bit bilingual now. I studied French when I was doing English, so I decided to take it serious. So this just to like, should I say, educate people out there that they are so much better. Because see, today, I funny how this is a very funny thing. I currently serve in the Faculty of Law in Jima's University, and every of their lecturers keep asking me that am I going to do law, and I'm like, I would rather do French over law. They found it disrespectful, but I had my reasons. I would rather study French over law, because I just realized that if you really, I don't know, it might sound maybe I'm not so open-minded, but I believe that if I really want to get it out there, if I really need something extra to stand out there, I'd rather venture studying French. That's something that is not normal among people than going to study law. Trust me. So that's majorly it right now for my life and my background to studying English. And for writing, I started writing in like secondary school. I think that was SS2. I mean, like, it was Shakespeare. That was after when we learned about the Shakespearean sonnet, right? And I tried it. I really loved that was something about summer. What's the name of that poem again? I cannot remember. But
Shall I compare this to a summer's day? That was more lovely and more temperate. Prof wins to shake the darling boss of me, and summer's bliss has also shot a dead. Sometimes too hot, the eye of heaven shines. And
Okay.
Let's give Prof a round of applause.
People get it. Exactly. So it was that poem that made me, and I was like, oh, I really love this poem. And I tried my own format. And from there, I realized that, wow, I think I can actually write. And that was how we started. Even though there been time of breakout, like for a while I will not write, I'll write again and all of those things. But it's been a journey I love writing. So it's not like I'm trying to make a business out of it or not. I just love writing generally. Yeah, so that's just it. And I love reading too. I think people should know that. I love reading.
Yeah, actually, Teni loves reading. For a fact, Teni graduated. She got the award for best used in library. So let me link that out here as well. So Teni loves reading. It's a fact. So thank you, Teni. Thank you. Victor, how about you? How's your journey in writing been like?
My journey in writing was pretty interesting, and some people already know this story. If I was to shrink it into like a statement of clue, I would draw from the well-reasoned thoughts of the popular scholar Damini Ogulu, where he said that last, now everybody go chop breakfast.
Who serve you breakfast?
Very important. It's my agenda now.
But seriously though, that's essentially how I got my start in writing, actually. The first things I wrote actually were in secondary school. I was in SS1 and I saw one of my friends. He was actually in the science class. And I saw that he would, write these poems and give it to babes. And all the babes would feel special. Meanwhile, I knew that STN was writing 3 or 4 in one single prep. Fear men, in summary, fear men. And I saw that I could do this. I could write like this. And I tried it and I liked how it was going. But when I decided to take it a bit further, I decided to write about how I did not like my school. So that rebellion has been in me for a while. And surprisingly, the senior literature teacher, I was in SS1, the teacher that took SS2 and SS3 and, even people that were taking GST and what have you, saw it and called me. And I thought I was in trouble. But he said he was impressed by what I had written. And later on, I think when I got to SS2, he said I should write something for a competition. And I did. And I really liked it. Unfortunately, it has been lost to time. But after then, I didn't really put my mind to it until I started talking to this particular babe in SS3. And it became a bi-monthly thing. So every 2 weeks or so, I would write something. And I mean, compared to what I write now, it is utter garbage, right? It's terrible. Very few people have seen those works, but I still have access to some of them because I preserve them fairly well. But people as I then were fairly impressed that, okay, this is pretty nice, it is thoughtful and what have you. And even as that, I don't think I can call it a relationship. I'll say the babe was my childhood friend. Even as that went south, I reflected that in the writing, and it went from being romantic and what have you to having an arc downwards where the sentiment of what I was writing became sadder and what have you. So, and that was that. a few months passed. It was my dad's birthday that particular year. I wrote something for him, and I enrolled at Redeemer University, and I met someone that we had a lot of things in common. Testimony, shout out if he ever listens to this, is a busy man. And he told me about the fact that he also wrote, and he has been writing for a while, and we compared notes, and we're like, what a coincidence. And he told me that he used Google Docs, which is crazy because I still use Google Docs for all my pieces to this day. And that's the only reason why I still have all my pieces going back 7 years. And he pushed me because I had kind of given up on writing. I didn't really have anything to write about, or so I thought. He pushed me to write. And then I started writing. Ironically, I edited the first piece I wrote in Redeemer University over the last week. And from there, it became more common. I wrote maybe 3 or 4, at most 5, before the end of my 100 level. By 200 level, again, breakfast and breakfast-related activities during lockdown pushed me to write. And well, there was one I wrote before then that people really resonated with, and I think that was my first major hit, in quotes. That was The Mystery Maiden. I know multiple people that consider it their favorite work of mine till this day, despite the fact that I finished writing it in 2020. And from there, again, like I said, breakfast and breakfast-related activities.
Justice for Victor.
Justice for me. And the funny thing is, I'm only getting started with those because I ended up having a whole collection just essentially channeled to breakfast and breakfast-related activities. I call it the hopeless romantic. I think you probably know about it. Yeah, women. I mean, being a United fan, I'm really used to heartbreak. So at the end of lockdown, I got into 300 level, and at that point, it had become a rhythm. When you get used to a particular thing, it doesn't really faze you. So it became kind of like I don't say coping mechanic, right? But a mechanism rather. But it became like my own channel of dealing with whatever. It was my own way of, some people would stress eat, some people would maybe go for a run, some people would cry, and once they cry it out, they are good. For me, I just had to maybe listen to some music, maybe put up some John Bellion or something, and write over a period of 1 or 2 hours. And when I'm done, I have expressed how I truly feel, and sometimes I get to understand myself even better when I finish writing. And I have something to show for it. So it was kind of like a win-win somewhat. And that was my own motivation, my motivating factor, to express and understand what is going on in my own head. And before I knew it, it became a habit that I would just write about whatever is going on in the moment. And by 2021, I had picked up the pace. I think 2022 was the year I wrote the most. But by that point, the habit had been created, and I think I published my first book in 2022. So that's the story of how I got into writing.
Very deep story. Sorry about breakfast.
Deep-rooted in breakfast.
I once discussed with Teni before she graduated. I think I once mentioned that writing is therapeutic. I mean,
yeah,
it is. I remember when I also was going through a lot. Like,
you cannot escape it.
A while back.
You cannot escape it.
I think I was like in my 200 level or so, and everything was just like too much. I needed to find a way to just like let it out, and I just picked up my system and I typed, and by the end of it, I'd say I was relieved to a certain extent that okay, yes, so this is it. So yeah, I think writing is relieving. It relieves us of stress. So now we've discussed your origin, we know how you guys started. So I want us to just discuss what your creative process is like. If you were to write a piece on anything. Victor?
My creative process is very sporadic. It's not linear. It's really not linear. Sometimes it would be while I am doing something totally different than an idea comes to mind, or it could be I am going on a drive. I'm driving somewhere, and I'm listening to music. It could literally be any music from calming R&B by, let's say, Daniel Caesar to extremely not R&B, like let's say Odumodu, for example. But it just, for some odd reason, regardless of what the music is, it allows me to think. So ideas come to mind, and I can't write while driving, obviously, but the moment I get to where I'm going, I jot down immediately. So my ideas or my ideation process often just starts from the most random thing. It could be I'm having a bath and, shower thoughts, like they say. And I have to, usually I would just send a voice note to one of my friends that, oh, this is an idea I have, and I would start it so I can come back to it and write. So that's usually how we start. Then the process from there has to do with dumping everything in my mind as regards to that particular topic or theme, or if I want to explore a particular style. Let's say, for example, I have some pieces I've written that the major thing there on a technical level is repetition. So, for example, I wrote Utopia January 2021, I think. And the whole point of Utopia, I would give you spoilers, is I spent about 9 or 10 verses discussing several things that could describe a perfect world, an ideal world, in striking detail, from the most mundane to the most germane. Only in the end to say that we can never have that. But how I built up to that point, where the plot twist at the end, where I said, imagine a world, imagine that world, it's perfect, isn't it? But that's the limit, that's all we can do, imagine. That was the plot twist at the end. How I built to that point was by starting every single verse with, imagine a world, imagine a world, imagine a world. And that was the thing I decided to work with. And I knew that, okay, I got the idea, funnily enough, after a church service, midweek church service. And it was later that I decided that I would be using repetition. So I poured down everything I knew there, just so I can know that I have fulfilled my duty of brainstorming initially. So it's when I come back with fresh pair of eyes, I can add and subtract and now bring it closer to its final form. And that happens 2-3 times. Like I said, that first piece I wrote when I was in 100 level, about 7 years ago, or 6 years ago rather. That particular piece was something that had been completed by the standard of 2019. But when I was revising it over the course of this week, it took me about 2 whole days and several hours of fine-tuning to arrive at what I saw at the final form. And even after showing it to 1 or 2 close friends, I still thought of more revisions, more edits to it. So it's a really scattered process, but it involves random ideation, pouring out everything that comes to mind in that moment and adding to it as it matures. So I can take that blob of random looking text and then sort it, mold it in a way that it builds to something, has a resolution, and passes a message.
Thank you. Teni, how about you? What's your creative process like?
I think I will just what I would say will relate more to what he said. Well, I think the summary of the whole thing for me is to get the idea to write is very random. It could be from maybe a book that I've just read or a post I saw or something, but to eventually arrive at what people see and what people like takes a whole long time. Do you get? I can get an idea now to say, oh, I want to write about this movie that I saw, and that is the idea. But to build up on that idea, just like he said, takes a very, very long time. Like, you might have gotten to a point and you feel like, okay, I think I'm there. And then you just read another thing and you realize, I've not even reached anywhere. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Like you said, you keep fine-tuning, editing, correcting, proofreading, until you finally get to that point that you know that, okay, like say you don't do. You get? So writing for me is very spontaneous. I don't have to be in the best frame of mind. I don't have to be in the worst or terrible frame of mind. I just have to be there. I just have to be present. I feel like writing is just me waking up every morning thinking of something, and God has so blessed me that I have a very wild mind, not bad wild. Like my brain is to go far.
Important caveat.
It's like it just. I'm here. You're having a conversation with me, but I'm sorry. I'm already in like 7 places. Like I think a lot, so my brain is going in so many ways. And I think one other thing that influenced my writing is actually my reading. There are some times that. It happened this year, actually. I read like 2 books, and the 2 books kind of have same subject matter, but from different point of view. And if we now look at it from the other side, the books are giving agree to disagree to agree, that kind of storyline. And I was like, okay, let me be the middleman for these 2 people and their books and all of those things. So as I feel like my works are very complicated. If you've not read some book, if you don't have knowledge of some things, you just might not be able to understand my work, because I come from a very complex point of view. I come from a point of experience, a point of things that I've seen. So if you're not majorly seeing through my lens, you might not really get it. That's why when people want to critique my work and they're like critiquing it in a very weird way, I don't feel bad, because I know that few people are the people that see through my lens, and while they might be correct, they still are very much incorrect because they are not seeing what I'm saying. I don't make writing difficult for myself because I want to enjoy it. I'm not those people that want to stick to the rules, maybe because I now studied English. I don't stick to the rules. I don't have to use rhyming scheme with whatever form of rhyme scheme. I don't have to use this rule, that rule. It must be a ballad. It must. I write according to how it comes for me. And I think it really makes writing easy, and it makes me get to my point very easy, because sticking to this rule is only if I am bound by the rule, maybe for a competition or for something. But if I'm not bound by any rule, I like to just do it the way I want it to be and all of those things. So I think that's more of writing for me. And also I think I have to state that I'm not just a poet. I think that part of me is really even dying these days, because now I write more of articles.
Preposterous. Blasphemous. How dare you?
No, not that. I'm just trying to say that I think like recently I've been discovering new part of myself. I'm beginning to write more of like flash fictions, like articles, like spoken word and all of those things. Like poetry that's like my beginning. I cannot forsake her or forsake them. It's like their community now. I can't. But discovering other sides, and I feel like those other sides are even the challenges I'm facing now, because I feel like for poetry there is just something about style that resonates with you when it comes to poetry. Just know that if you show me a work, maybe one of Prof's work that I've not seen before, if I read it once or twice, I can guess that it is Prof that wrote that piece, because it has his style, it has his tone. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Like, if you've read like Prof's anthology like in-depthly, he has his style and he has his tone. You will know that he's there. That's the beauty about poetry. But you see this new form of writing, your tone can be mimicked, can be copied, and they will copy it very well. on like poetry that it will be difficult for somebody to copy your style if they know your style. So I think that's majorly it.
All right. Thank you both. Thank you both. So now let's dive deep into what we have for this episode. You have talked about your creative process and how you ideate to writing and people see the final outcome. But artificial intelligence, AI, is capable of generating, let's say, unlimited amount of text within like very, very short time frames. So, how is AI changing the way writers brainstorm, plot twists, build characters, or generate poetic imagery? Teni?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, first thing first, I'm one of a set of people that believe that AI is here and is here to stay. Like, no matter the podcast, TED Talk, and everything that everybody does against that bro, he's here and he's here to stay. So everybody has to like up their game or whatever you can do to survive. Positive. Now, you said something about writers and AI. The truth is that so many people have gotten weak, gotten like a bicycle and nonchalant about their writing because they feel like AI can spontaneously come up with.
So, are you saying that AI makes writers less creative?
No, it depends on the kind of writer that you are. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Can you expand on that? Okay.
Yeah, when I was at the 3 weeks NYC orientation camp, my platoon, they were talking about this old drama stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, I think I can help. At least I've written like scripts for like some chapel administration before. I think I can help. Then I wrote my scripts and all of those things. I did not have the time to direct my script because I was playing volleyball that I was obviously more passionate about. So I gave them the script that they should do whatsoever they chose is. And do you know what they did? I'm surprised to today. Ask AI for scripts. They will direct the script.
Sorry, they won't do that again.
I learned my lesson. They had to, and I was like, okay, these are the issue. They are not writers. They are trying to be writers. They are trying to fill that position. Unfortunately, when they ask AI, they fine-tune it, they bring it up. An average person will call them a writer, but sorry to me, you are not a writer. You just asked AI to help you. I'm not saying that AI cannot help us, or there are sometimes that I need a word badly and the word is not coming to memory, and I'll try to describe. I'm trying to say to AI. Exactly, to give me that word that I am looking for, but not that you now ask him to fetch you the whole answer. I don't know, for people, they've lost their sense of originality, and that's the problem that we have. I take pride and I take interest in my originality. I want it to resonate with me, my type of person. I want it to look like me. But these days now, so many writers, they do not care. And unfortunately, even when, I think this is the part I want to buttress on, even when your script or your writing is not even AI based, if they check it or test it with AI checker, it can come back saying maybe 50% written by AI.
I think I recently saw a tweet on X where an AI detector flagged the Declaration of Independence as AI generated content.
Exactly. So these are the issues that we're having, which is why I do not like to rush into conclusion when they said they tested some people's work and it came back with AI, because on the long run, it might actually be very original to a valuable extent, but it is still coming out as AI. Because there's a job I do part-time where you decommunicate AI text to make it sound human. That's our work. The person, that's part of what I want to say now. I'm sorry, is this a breach of contract, Prof? I don't know.
I don't know what people agreed to now. What are the terms of the agreement?
Like that. But the idea is they write like articles, magazine, but they get the main work from AI. So our own work is to decommunicate and make it sound human. There are some days that I will sit down with my laptop and my data write this thing as though I am writing it myself, and we're going to put this thing inside AI checker, and it will still come back partially human, partially AI. While somebody that does change this or just change that will come back human. Let me give you an example. If a text wants to be flagged as AI, they believe that an average human should make use of contraction. You get like contractions when writing, should make use of some things. Whereas when they were teaching me in the university, you should barely use contraction. So because now,
especially in formal context.
God bless you. So now, because I know the rule and I'm abiding by it, I'm already artificial intelligence. I don't forget the system. So it's more like those of us know the rule and we know it. They're trying to flag us as AI. Where people that are not even up to the standard are going through, they're just getting it. And it's more like you're not doing your work well. Whereas the issue is not even with you, it's with the system.
Thanks for that, Teni. All right, Prof. How about you? What do you think? How is AI changing the way writers brainstorm plot twists, build their characters, or generate poetic imagery? And do you think it makes writers less creative?
No. Not at all. Not one bit. This ties into something I've said before about prompt engineering. I believe it is twofold, right? I was speaking to one of my friends a couple of days ago, telling him about how I revised a work, but I used AI as a brainstorming partner. And I was telling him about how people would hear, oh, AI was involved in the making of this work, and they would squirm and turn their nose up and what have you. And it's always funny to me because AI did not experience those things. I did. Those are still my experiences, my thoughts, and what have you. What AI is doing is to act as a separate entity to bounce ideas off of, to watch my blind spots and what have you. That's what it does. There are multiple pieces I have created that involved AI. And like I said, in revising that one piece, it took me multiple days, despite the fact that I was employing the use of AI. That shows you the difference between going to ChatGPT and saying, generate a 30-lined poem about love, and what I am doing. Because to every single person I will say, oh, this thing you have written is less impressive because you used AI in your workflow, I will say, go to AI and recreate it if it's sure for you. Because on one part, the creativity as a writer, to know things like the tone, the themes, the style, the vocabulary, the diction, the plot, the setting, the pacing, all these things feed into how good and how well such a person is. I was taking a course on AI the other day. I feel like I say that every other day now. But I was taking a course on AI the other day. And one of the experts that was invited for that particular course spoke about the fact that the thing about using AI is, yes, there has to be some transparency that AI was used, but at the same time, it should not belittle what a person has done. Because, for example, if I, being someone that is a trained lawyer, oh God, Council of Legal Education, please, a law graduate, I'm waiting law school results. I can't say I'm a lawyer yet. I'm waiting law school results. And multiple, years as a writer. if I say I want to create, let's say, an interior design brief or something relating to, let's say, the brief, a feasibility brief, a technical brief on the construction of a bridge, I will fall short compared to the least qualified engineer in the world. Why? I don't understand the terminology. I don't understand the intricacies, the nuances that go into such a technical brief. So what I'm saying is, AI is a tool in the hand of the writer. It doesn't make them less creative. In fact, it facilitates them to look into multiple areas. For example, something creative that I did, not too recently, a few months ago, was I wrote a piece about the last day or two in the law school for me. And it involved meeting this particular lady.
Yeah, I saw that tweet.
For the plot.
Yes, for the plot. And everything. And I was finding it hard to come up with a title. And I've created a special AI assistant that I have trained myself on all my work, both published and unpublished. So it understands a lot of naming conventions and nuances and styles and what have you. So I fed that assistant with the entirety of that piece and said, after I drafted it and, edited and revised, and I said, suggest a title with varying levels of creativity, varying levels of, in technical terms, they'll say high temperature, right? People like Tiwatope would know that in depth. A fairly high temperature. So go in different directions and look for potential titles. And one of the several titles it suggested, right, was for the plot, Your Honor. And I was like, no, we don't use Your Honor largely in Nigerian legal system. So instead, I chose for the plot, My Lord. And everybody that saw just the title, it resonated with them. Wow, this is a catchy title. This is something I can relate to. It's something I can understand. But imagine how it would be if someone was to say, oh, that doesn't count for anything because AI was used. If someone looking at that particular piece with the title was to read it, do you think they would say, no, that title is not creative? I don't think so. So I do not think that AI makes writing less creative or writers less creative. If one wants to be lazy, yes, that is possible. I'm not going to pretend that writers cannot get lazier. But that is a conscious decision. That's a conscious decision. You could either do the same thing with less work using AI, or elevate your work like I'm trying to do and do even better than you've ever done with AI. So at the end of the day, it is something that you look at on a writer by writer basis. You could use it to brainstorm plot twists that, what are potential ways this plot could go? Oh, I'm stuck. I don't know how to advance this story. This is chapter 1, 2, and 3. What do you think I should do for chapter 4? And it doesn't mean that it would write chapter 4 for you, but it will give you an idea, something you didn't think about before. And that is what makes it useful. It's like having an expert at your beck and call 24/7. And that expert will never get annoyed, will never get bored, will never get frustrated.
Okay, sorry, Victor. I think I'm trying to get what you are saying. You're saying something like, for people that are very intricate and people that are very responsible with AI, you're trying to say that we should not also negate the fact that they put in time and energy, regardless of the fact that some of their creativity or some of their writings come from AI. We should not forget that they've put in time, they've put in effort, they've put in their creativity, thought process to even get that kind of reply from AI.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I agree with you. But I'm sorry, I'm not trying to sound millennial or traditional. But do you know that of course, we've had writers like the Thomas Hardy, the Shakespeare. I didn't even want to mention Shakespeare because he's a man, another man entirely. But we've had the Teni, we've had the Keats and the Wordsworth and all of those that they wrote beautiful stuffs. They wrote good stuffs without AI. Unfortunately, most of them don't even have supervisor. They don't have mentor as we do have now. Most of them or some of them do not have. And they came up with very exciting titles. They came up with very nice titles for their poems and they do not have AI. So the point I'm trying to make is that I'm not trying to negate the fact or trying to act like all the points stated are not facts or they are not legit. They are. But another thing I'm trying to say is that without AI, we will still write beautiful pieces. And this thing that you are saying now, you're always saying it to people like us that are responsible, intricate, and wise enough to understand the point you're trying to come from. So many people are not seeing it this way at all. You just go there, fetch information and come back. Imagine a competition where somebody like me put in my time, my energy, my effort, my life literally on the line to write that very magical piece. Then because somebody came, maybe like nice word structure majorly, and it sounds nicer than mine, the person gets the award. Don't you think it's going to be painful to me? I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
Let me respond to that real quick. First off, you use a laptop.
Okay.
Right? You have a laptop, you have a phone, and you often type and create documents on there. The majority of these people you mentioned had none of those, yet still created beautiful work. But we're talking about Shakespeare of over 400 years ago, or about 400 years ago. There was no laptop, there was no desktop, there was no phone. Yes, he created what he created. Did it take him several years? Of course. He didn't have a typewriter back then, but he still created what he did. Right. Technology elevates humanity. It's just what it is. Right. Someone like Chino Achebe did not use AI. One of the best writers Africa has ever seen did not use AI, of course. But he sank his life to it. And of course, the technology of his time made it easier for him to do what the likes of Wordsworth, the likes of Tennyson, the likes of Shakespeare did at their time. Technology will keep on moving forward, will keep on making things easier and faster. And like I said, at the end of the day, you could have two choices. Either, I'm talking about when it comes to using AI, either do what you're already doing and just maintain that with less effort, or actually push the boundaries. Now, it would be extremely dismissive if someone would say, oh, what I did on one of my pieces, actually like 3 last week, is not creative because I used AI in that particular process. Now, the entire piece is less than 120 words. The entire piece. It has maybe, let's say, 20 to 30 lines. 120 words. Yet I used several hours spanning multiple days in order to fine-tune it to my heart's content. Do you know the level of micromanaging that takes? Now, are there people that would be lazy and would simply just write a short prompt and generate something. Yes, there are. But I believe that as a writer, an intentional writer, a skilled writer, you should be able to beat such people without even using AI. You should, because like I said at the beginning of this entire thing, AI does not experience what you experience. AI does not have your perspective. AI does not have your soul. So, you with your soul, your experience, your emotion, your thoughts, your feelings, you can control whatever is going on in whatever you're writing, be it poetry, short story, a long novel, an article, and what have you. Personality cuts through. Anybody that read 40 Plus My Lord, for example, would be like, yeah, this is classic Prof. He is the only person I know that will be annoying like this. I won't give spoilers. He's the only person I know that will be annoying like this, or he's the only person I know that will tell this story the way he did. But I was involved in telling that story. But it doesn't take away from the fact that, again, it took multiple days, several hours over multiple days to arrive at the final edition. So it's a thing of effort. The more effort you put in without AI, the more you get out. The more effort you put in with AI, the more you get out. Garbage in, garbage out is something we've been hearing for decades. You understand? So I still believe that even when you're not using AI, someone that is lazily, emphasis on that word, lazily using AI without a writer's initiative, a writer's perspective, and good prompt engineering should not be able to beat an intentional writer. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it should happen. Because lazily using AI, it will look plastic, it will look fake, it will not convey whatever you're going through. So that's what I have to say on that particular topic.
All right. Thank you very much for your response. We've talked about how AI is improving creativity and at the same time can dampen creativity for those who outsource their ideas and outsource their thoughts to it. And this leads me to my next question. Are writers at the risk of becoming obsolete because of AI? Teni?
No. No matter how much AI writes, AI cannot express human emotion because it is artificial. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I want you to try something. Try recounting something bad that happened to you to AI and tell him that, do you know how I feel? The first thing he's going to tell you is, it's not human to tell you how you feel, but from his own reason, this is this and this is that. So one major limitation that I know and I've noticed from artificial intelligence is its inability to communicate human emotions. Human emotions as well as humans would explain it. So in the long run, it might reduce work of people. For example, now copywriters should really just hold their shoes, really like tie their lace very well, because they might be out of the, like majority of them might be out of the market because AI is really trying to write very great copies if you can prompt it well. But actual writings, like the novels we read, like the experiences, like the Nigerian experiences we read, the like maybe this new Benue massacre, all of those things, AI cannot communicate the ideal emotion, the needed emotion to provoke, to move a reader. So whether we like it or not, some part of writing will still remain intact, will remain unaffected. Why some part of, which is why I keep saying with the advent of AI, I think it's just calling on everybody to try to upskill. upskill, because the current skill you are holding is being threatened. Upskill to something, should I say, smarter than, or to something greater than artificial intelligence, that whether it evolves or still doesn't evolve, you are standing, you are gallant, and all of those things. So no, all the writers won't be off the market, but some writer in some field will be off the market, like very soon.
All right, Prof, what's your take?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. It's a saying, a very popular saying as regards AI, that AI will not take your job, but someone using AI probably will. That's just it. And about the copywriting thing, yes, AI is beginning to do that very well, but it circles back to something I had said before, that the more experience or expertise you have in that field, the better the output that AI gives you. Because a year one, while AI might be able to elevate what a year one copywriter can do, imagine the amount of context that a copywriter that has been at it for 10 years will be able to provide in order to fast track the brainstorming process. At the end of the day, it's only a matter of, like she said, upskilling and picking it up as a tool, because even if it doesn't make you better, even if it would make you faster. So I don't think it's obsolete, because at the end of the day, generative AI is trained on data. And creativity is about bringing things new, things that are new, that did not exist before. So that creativity will still most likely come from human beings. Because it's human beings that think of the darndest things. It's human beings that experience all the things that, occur in the world. So at the end of the day, there's still need for input. And if you're a professional in that field, your inputs will be even more valuable than someone that is trying to pick it up on the side. So I don't think that writers will become obsolete because of AI. If anything, they just ride that train and follow the wave.
Thank you. And also something important that I have mentioned from the very inception of this podcast about artificial intelligence is the need for people to upskill. That's something that Teni mentioned. So Victor clearly said it is those who know how to use artificial intelligence that's going to take your job. So this is just a message for writers, anyone listening. It is important that you upskill. It's important that you develop capacity to a point that you are on par with AI. Well, we will never be on par. I mean, the machine will always outthink you, but you have a certain level of efficiency compared to others. So you shouldn't be lazy. You shouldn't be laid back. It's important that you are learning and you are improving your workflow with AI. So improving workflows with AI can make writers write much more faster. It can help you with words. It can help you come up with context and all of that. Prof, have you seen poets, authors, or scriptwriters use AI in cool ways? Or can you describe a scenario, another scenario? I think you've described some, but can you describe maybe a scenario where AI has helped you in your writing?
Okay, so I would give another scenario. Last year, I published a book, Relapse. Possibly my best book so far. And in that book, I had this idea that I wanted to, that I wanted to execute on. But I knew that idea would be very, very difficult to pull off. And that is based on the fact that I had never really done something to that level. It was pretty difficult. It was pretty difficult in the sense that there were so many images, so many things that made that particular poem heavy. And I've been building up to that point. And when it got to writing that particular point, I knew that I had to deliver with a very heightened work. So in order to do that, or as a result of that, I became scared. Not that I didn't have anything to write, so I became scared that this idea I have in mind I was not sure whether I would be able to execute on my own idea. So I went to ChatGPT that day and I told it to generate something for me. Something I went on to tweak. At this point, like I said, I already trained my personal assistant on my work and what have you. And then I created a prompt, and this prompt is almost as long as the piece itself. So a lot of thought went into it. I had already conceptualized. So the ideation process was done. Now it was time for the drafting process. I didn't know how I would start. So I told ChatGPT to generate a 3-verse poem talking about the death of love for a romantic relationship, with the themes, with the tone and mood being one of anger and reflection. Then I told it to employ the following images and symbols. The poem opens with the image or symbol of rigor mortis, which symbolizes the death of the relationship and the time that has passed after that death. The next symbol is one of the significant other who ended the relationship, the poet persona himself, and the surrounding circumstances acting as undertakers responsible for leading and carrying the corpse to the final resting place. The central image of the poem is one of embers, the embers that fuel the cremation of the corpse, showing a permanent and irreversible end of the relationship. Those embers are the actions and inactions of the significant other that ended the relationship. Also mention the fact that these embers could eventually spill over and burn the already pickled bridge between the significant other and the poet persona. This piece is intended to make a great reading and should also be highly suitable for spoken word, with the audience understanding the didactic portion being the feeling of loss and how it could come to be for seemingly mundane reasons, which only become deep upon further thoughts. The personal voice is one that is conversational, assertive, and makes use of metaphorical language. It is equally introspective, philosophical, thought-provoking, and intellectually engaged. The language is somewhat elevated, with even seemingly simple and basic language being used in highly creative ways, which involve the reframing of status quo and witty wordplay to reform cliches to fit the context. Lastly, the voice prioritizes clear and engaging exposition and emphatic and often ominous resolution. All that I just read over the last 2.5 minutes was one prompt. And that was everything I had in my head as to how I wanted to bring this to life. Right. And the part of the prompt that spoke about the personal voice of the poem, I got to that by distilling. I uploaded a book or two to a different assistant and told it to distill all the characteristics that it can glean of the voice and style that was employed in that piece. And I used that as part of the prompt to generate this particular thing, because I knew that what I was about to write is very similar in voice to only one or two things I've previously written. So basically 50% of what I've written related to what I was about to write, and the other 50% would have been kind of irrelevant. So at the end of the day, it generated something for me, and I kept on editing that over a period of 1 or 2 weeks until I found the perfect draft. Now, I included AI in this case to narrow down my workflow. Because normally, like I said, it could take weeks, it could take months for me to get a full draft that I can now begin editing and revising, molding into what would resemble the final form. But here, it was shortened to a period of like 2 weeks because I already had a draft to work with. Having that first draft is often the hard part, but I was able to get that draft and all of that just by, pouring down all my thoughts into one prompt and getting a starting point. So that is another totally different situation where I infused AI into my writing process, and it fast-tracked what I was trying to do.
Thank you. How about you, Teni? In what ways has artificial intelligence changed the way you work?
Okay, since it's the way I work, I think that's probably people than the way I write. I feel like the past couple months, it has really helped me the way I work and learn majorly. I don't know if you've heard of Notion app. Yeah, I use Notion app a lot, and it's majorly AI to organize my day, activities, my work. If I have to do something like maybe a spreadsheet or something like that. Yes, and I think another thing is also for the language I'm learning, I think AI has been like my actual bestie. It breaks things down and all of those things. Sometimes I can record like a voice note of something I had and I did not get it, and then I send it to AI, trigger it, and then it breaks it down what the person is saying and all of those things. I think for learning, for me, it has been very good. For writing, I think it's just now, maybe from the few things that Victor have said, that I want to learn in-depthly into prompt engineering to see how I can make it work. But if I still do not get the hang of it, I'll just stick to my normal traditional way of writing. If it take me months to write, I generally don't mind, as far as I get it to a point that I like and all of those things. But majorly for learning, I use AI a lot. But for writing, really, I'm just indifferent. I'm just there.
So before we leave this section, do either of you have any tools that you use on a day-to-day basis? We've mentioned ChatGPT for your writing process. Are there any other tools you use aside ChatGPT for writing?
For writing, I think for script writing, hey, Jesus Christ, I've forgotten. See, I have so many issues with my phone, so many things are not working there. So I use my system more. Mm-hmm. But majorly for writing on my system, I use my normal Word. Then I use, like you mentioned, I think Google Docs for saving your work. Google Docs actually help. And then I also use it on my phone. What's the name of Flying Notes on my phone for writing, like spontaneous writing, if I need to write and all of those things. Then for editing majorly, I use Grammarly. Sorry, I'm very traditional and olden. You can put it that way. So I still stick to my Grammarly Premium, though it's premium for editing. If I have articles and all of those things, I stick to my Grammarly, which is AI low-key sharp. See, before my manager is falling down again. So literally,
Grammarly is full with AI. It's not looking AI. That's all we are doing.
Yeah. I've been hearing of Grammarly since my secondary school days.
So, but majorly that's what I use for writing.
How about you, Prof? Other than ChatGPT, any other AI-powered tools that you use?
Well, there was a time I was working on a particular skill, and I had, finally made the speech and revised it to a point where I liked it. So I wanted to generate things like stage directions, pauses, and even slides, and the appropriate places to put the slides. I ended up, taking that speech and using DeepSeek R1 to do what I wanted to do. And DeepSeek R1 actually, on that particular task, outperformed ChatGPT. So I use, occasionally I use DeepSeek. Majority of the time I use ChatGPT. Then once in a while I might use Gemini Because Gemini is a little bit friendlier than ChatGPT sometimes. But I'll say 90% of the time when I'm writing and I'm bouncing ideas off, I use ChatGPT. But there's some specific things that DeepSeek R1 is very good at. Although OpenAI have sort of honored some of that market share, because even free users now can use the reasoning model. I think O3 or O4 mini, I'm not sure. They can use those models for free now. So instead of going to DeepSeek for the reasoning model, I'll just continue in the same chat, but ask ChatGPT to reason and think longer for like a minute at most. So yeah, that's how that works for most of the time.
Thank you. So going back earlier, we were talking about AI and creativity issues as regards to AI rather. But I want us to come back to it. Does AI open up new ways to tell stories, or does it make everything sound the same? Because AI has that tendency to make everything sound generic. And that is something that if you're in the academic setting, I'm still in school, you will hear, AI makes everything sound generic. It's the same. But then Victor mentioned that he has been able to train an AI assistant to sound like him based on his own works. So how's that? Does AI open up new ways to tell stories, or does it still make everything sound the same? Who wants to answer that first?
Okay. I totally disagree with saying AI make everything sound generic. I totally disagree. When I was writing my final year project, that I needed like ideas, just like Victor said, I needed ideas. And I was even surprised to get the response I got, because the text I used for my project are indigenous Yoruba text, like Femi Sufficient text, you get. So I did not even expect the reply I got. I got so many point of view, like French people will say point de vue, so many things that I would never have thought of to my work. And trust me, make my work sound distinct. I never even, like, all my mind was I was doing something literary. It was even AI that made me realize that my work is both theatrical rather and literary, which made my work stand out. Me that was writing the project did not even see that aspect. So trust me, it's only if you're a one-way person, you're very dogmatic, your mind goes one way, that AI will be generic to you. Because even when AI is trying to give you different point of view, you're not going to see it because your eye is just fixed on that thing. But if you're somebody that like diversity, AI is not generic at all. AI will make you see different things, like I made a content calendar last year for different books I wanted to review this year. It was even AI that I had to tell AI, okay, these are the places I want to focus on. These are the days I want to focus on. These are the important moments I want to capture. And it brought out how I can use like one book to capture 3 moments. So I do not really believe AI make anything generic. AI is actually very diverse. It is your mind that I would believe is generic that is making you see. Sorry, no shades to our lecturers, but that's just the truth.
Thank you. Prof.
For me, it goes back to what I said about effort level. Yes, if one is very lazy and does not put in a lot of effort into what they are prompting or asking for,
like garbage in, garbage out.
It's just going to be garbage in, garbage out, and it's very likely to sound generic. And I would say that in that sense, there's very little creativity that AI would truly come up with without human input. And again, that's why I said it should be a tool. But at the same time, as a tool, it does open new ways to tell stories, because the more you give it, the more it gives you in return. When you add so much context, it becomes very specific, very precise. And then with the more context, it can branch out in multiple ways. And help with brainstorming, ideation, world building, character building, name it really. It helps creativity and it could hurt creativity at the same time, depending on who is using it.
Everything falls back to the user, really.
Yeah.
Oh, and before I forget, I forgot to mention another tool I use occasionally, and that is Notebook LM.
Oh, yes.
I use that to generate, in my opinion, the best or the biggest AI product of 2024. If you know, you know. Most people disagree, but it is well. I use it to generate audio overviews of my books. So if someone says that they're not sure they have the time to read my book, I could send them that overview that, if you like the sound of this, you can read the book to have the full experience, essentially. So that's also part of my stack.
Sharp guy.
I tried my best.
Follow up on the road. At the back, Prof.
Victor is too modest. I mean, he's too modest for everything that he has done. But now, moving on. At the beginning also, Prof mentioned that AI does not experience what we experience. That AI lacks the emotional capability.
Human emotion.
Yes, it lacks that. So, in your view, is it possible in any way that AI can, make us feel something in any way? Even if we train it to sound like us.
I feel like women are really doing a lot negatively, actually, because if you see the conversation that some ladies have with their AI, you wonder if they have family issues or if they don't have friends. And trust me, if they I don't know, these are the little things I feel like build up some response in the mind of AI. I don't know. I don't watch too many scientific movies, but I know I watch Atlas, and at last I saw how if you are not careful enough, you can play into the hand of artificial intelligence. So if we keep having the relationship and experience we're having with AI, one thing we don't know is that as we are having our own life experiences, AI is getting some experiences from us. That is why you can ask him to paint a scenario and he will paint a vivid scenario because of conversations that a lot of people, myriad of people they've had with him. Or what am I using him? With AI, with it. People, myriad of people have had with it over time. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I don't know if we can eventually get to the point that AI begin to feel human emotion. I don't know about that because I do not really think so. But maybe halfway close to yes. Because there are some people that they do not find any human being to rant about their terrible day to than artificial intelligence. And I'm sorry, I can never wrap my head around it. I'm not trying to sound judgmental. Never, not at all. But I'm just here to come to terms with the fact that people actually do that. So if we keep sharing these experiences, sharing personal experiences, sharing Nigeria problems and country problems and the world problems with artificial intelligence, they might actually get to a point that they start feeling the emotions. It start making more sense. Why do I feel like I'm sounding like someone that watched too much K-drama? But yeah, that's what I feel.
How about you, Prof?
For me, I believe that it is possible for a product of AI or a product that AI was involved in making to be convincing, to sound convincing and to evoke emotion, to evoke sentiment. And like I have said so many times now, it is because AI is one of the several tools in the arsenal of a writer to do so. Some of the example I gave earlier on about pouring down everything I knew, including the imagery, the metaphors, the voice, the style, and what have you.
when all of this was put into the AI assistant, it was able to spit out something that, even while still rough, was emotive, could make one feel. And ironically, the first two lines alone, I left them as is, almost as a statement. Because anybody that's read those first two lines will remember how they felt when they initially read it. And now they'll be discovering that those first two lines were entirely AI. But not just AI for AI's sake, AI based on what I had imputed. And if you are wondering, the first two lines are, in the grip of rigor mortis, love lies still, a cadaver of what once pulsed with life. The first time I shared that piece with someone, multiple people came to hug me and asked if everything was okay. So this, I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. That was over a year ago at this point. So can something AI is involved in be emotive and make the reader or the audience feel emotion? Yes. But as myself and Teni have said multiple times, the burden of doing that actually lies on the writer himself, the person that is imputing to AI, not the AI itself.
Thank you both. Until we are midway this episode, and again, to all of you listening, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Also, you should share this episode with many people. All right, so moving on. Prof, I'm going to direct the next series of questions to you because I know that and let me say you are an expert, let me put it like that, at intellectual property, like IP law. So, if you use AI to write a book or a script, is this still your work? Should the writer give credit to AI?
Okay, we're going to have a short class in law.
All right.
As of now,
Pen and
as
paper.
of today, pen and paper. As of today, AI does not have legal personality. What does that mean? Artificial intelligence is not recognized by the law as being a person. And the implication of that is that AI, as a result, cannot own anything, cannot buy anything, cannot sell anything as its independent person. So the best that can happen is that if any copyright was to arise in that case, it either defaults, depending on the situation, hypothetically speaking, it either defaults to being owned by the person that used and prompted the AI to generate that, or in a very, very rare case, which is purely hypothetical, the company that developed that model. If anything, AI itself is property to be owned, and not the other way around. So, with that in mind, AI cannot own a book. AI cannot own a book. AI cannot sell a book and what have you. Someone's name has to be on it. Even if it is 100% created by AI, at least there was a prompt. And most likely the name on that book cover would be the person that prompted it.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, there was, ironically speaking, there is now legal precedent in US law that no copyright can arise from work that is created by AI. However, that particular judgment is ultra specific to images. Ultra specific. But you could expand it as it were, essentially. So when it comes to giving credit, like I said, it's not a person, so you can't give credit to it. What can be done and should be done going by AI ethics is disclosure, right? Because transparency is one of the pillars of AI ethics, regardless of who you ask. If you ask IBM, if you ask Microsoft, if you have Google, even if you ask Meta, even OpenAI, big data and big tech, transparency is one of the pillars of AI ethics or good AI, fair AI. So many people call it so many things, but you should be able to be transparent. And one of the easiest ways of being transparent is by disclosing that AI was used in the making of this. So yeah, that's that.
Okay. So my next question for you, Prof. Are the current copyright laws enough to handle AI-generated content, or do we need new rules?
Well, we definitely need new rules. We definitely need new rules. And I say that because, as a matter of fact, the European Union, their AI Act came into force last year, August. USA is currently working on, the United States is currently working on an umbrella law to govern the entirety of AI. A country like Canada is beginning to roll out regulations, not full-on laws, but regulations similar to, while Japan is taking the direct opposite approach. They are pretty lax with the way they do it. So they are prioritizing innovation. Basically, they are taking the approach of Silicon Valley, move fast and break things. Let's see what you can actually do and generate. They don't want to use regulation to hamper or hinder development. So, but the general consensus or the average consensus is that there is need for new laws as regards AI. Whether that involves metadata in the case of images and what have you, whether that involves metadata in order to show that there's an AI signature within the file, or whether it involves other regulations that a failure to disclose could be punishable and what have you. There is need for law to cover AI-generated content generally.
And where does Africa stand in all of this?
Well, Nigeria passed a new copyright act that included a new copyright act. Yes, there was one before. It was passed, I think, in 2022 or 2023 and came into law the following year, I think last year. But I don't think, to the best of my knowledge, there was no inclusion of AI in that. And of course, it is something that's under regulation because no country wants to be left behind when it comes to innovation and progress. But not much progress has been made as regards AI in Nigeria, especially AI-generated content.
Okay.
Or to be clear, the regulation of AI-generated content.
All right. Thank you for those responses. So, moving on. Where's the line between inspiration and intellectual theft in AI-generated content? I see it as a very thin line between you go to ChatGPT, you prompt it, ChatGPT, you might say, it's my idea, and I told it to give me this, give me that, and it gave you. But because AI is trained on vast amount of data, there is the possibility of it copying maybe a text from someone's work that is already online. So, like, what's the line between inspiration and intellectual theft in AI generated content?
Okay, I want to go first. Yeah. No, as regards this, we have to look at legal, ethical, philosophical, and even technical aspects.
Okay.
When it comes to training, like you said, it's trained on data. You can't talk about AI without data, and you can't talk about data without AI in the current times. It's trained on a lot of data, and there are largely two major types of data, right? There's ethical data and there's unethical data, right? So ethical data is the one that only involves licensed data, and licensing has to do with when it comes to copyright and intellectual property that is owned. Licensing is giving someone a particular, the legal right to carry out specific activities as you people agree to. So people could, or a particular company in training a model could meet, let's say, Warner Brothers and all the like Disney and what have you, and then license the training or license the data. Let's say just text of all the scripts that those companies have ever turned into movies. That's an ethical data set. There's an unethical one that just basically crawls the entire internet. Everything that can be found would be scrubbed and used as a part of that data set. And we currently have, a case. We have multiple cases in court right now. For example, we have New York Times versus OpenAI and Microsoft.
Yeah, that case.
And we also have, this one is more recent, Disney versus Midjourney. Right. And what's Disney is saying is Midjourney allows users to generate IP protected characters. Like you could go to Midjourney and generate Star Wars. You could go to Midjourney and generate let's say Kung Fu Panda. There's so many examples. You could go to Midjourney and generate Mickey Mouse and what have you. Meanwhile, all these characters are protected by copyright law. So, first thing is that Disney is already saying that there is no way that your models will be able to generate these things without being trained on our data. First question is, how did you get our data to train? And the second thing is, even at that, can't you provide guardrails, that is restrictions for our listeners, to prevent IP protected content from being generated? Because you would be looking at the fact that you could want to write a story and use AI and to use even your idea, but based on the vast amount of text that AI has been trained on, or that a particular model you are using has been trained on, it could very well be leeching off of someone else's story that has been published long, long ago. So there's that problem there. Now, when you look at the philosophical aspects, and I hate to be that guy, but what is AI doing in that sense that is different from what human mind or the human mind does? To me, not very little, because everything I have written or will write is influenced by something external that was trained. It's just that it wasn't trained with parameters and, what have you, neural networks. Right? It was trained by experiencing. It was trained in such a way that just by being alive, I get to be exposed to all manner of stimulus. I get to be exposed to all manner of things. AI too gets exposed to all these things. I have read several stories that I would feel inspired by. And based on that inspiration, I would then write my own story. So it's a very thin line. And to me, it raises a philosophical question that is the inspiration that human beings can get by experiencing art any different from AI being trained on already existing data? There are arguments for and against. Some people see it as just blatant IP theft, while some other people say human beings are not too dissimilar to AI in the way they both gather content, understand it or learn it in quotes, despite the fact that that means different things in both situations, and then produce something different based on what they have learned.
All right, thank you very much for that, Victor. Moving on, we've talked about how artificial intelligence helps human beings to be more creative. And you both, you've mentioned how AI has been able to help you in your workflows as writers, drafting, coming up with content, and all that. But for those who might not still get the clear picture, what does it look like when a person and a machine, artificial intelligence in this case, creates something together? Teni?
Okay, thank you very much. Um, Number one, I would say depend on people perspective of when we talk about machine. There are some people that I don't exactly want to say they are naive, but when you mention AI, they just see it as something big, something complex, and all of those things. But from what I know and even what I've learned from this discussion today, when you work with AI as somebody that know what he or she is doing, it just help your work comes out more perfect, make it comes out more nice, more relatable. You get what I'm saying? Because as human, here comes the thing. As human, we are prone to forget some things. We are prone to not remember some things. And fortunately, AI exactly do not forget things. So there are some words we've forgotten, maybe some terms, some terminology, some I don't want to say attitude, but some feeling that we want to communicate to maybe our readers that we exactly at that point cannot remember, and we need to, like what I mentioned earlier. There are sometimes I'm looking for that word and it's not coming to my head. I just go on to like ChatGPT and explain the idea of the word, give like synonym to the word, and then the word comes. You get what I'm saying? It just makes you oh, it makes you not exactly old, but near old. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it makes it that things that you forget, things that you cannot multitask a lot to do. It's just more like cutting activity, division of labor, and giving AI work to do and all of those things. So it just makes you come out more or less flawless, really.
Makes you look pristine. Thank you.
Exactly.
Prof.
When AI and a person, when they work as creative partners, for me, it brings in the best of both worlds. What do I mean? I mean, human beings bring the creativity, they bring the soul, they bring the experience, the lived experience. While artificial intelligence have some very big strengths that human beings don't have, or to the same degree. For example, AI is precise, very, very precise. While human beings are imperfect at a lot of things, AI is very precise. Secondly, AI is trained on a lot of data. It has a lot to lean on when it needs to. I mean, you should know about RAGs, retrieval augmented generation. It can always go back to retrieve what is relevant and apply it for the task at hand. So that is very important. And very connected to that point is the fact that despite the vast amount of data, AI is adept at discovering and pointing out patterns. It is a key trait about how AI models are trained. And it's also something that it does very, very well when it comes to executing tasks. Then the last one is, again, related to the last one. It flows into this one. The fact that in recognizing patterns, it can suggest opportunities. So, for example, if your story goes in a particular direction, it could suggest that you look at maybe using this metaphor in addition, or adding these lines, or exploring the possibility of taking your story in one way or another. So these are things you could do and contribute positively to such creative partnership.
Sorry, in addition, I think another thing is using AI, if you are positive, is also more like reading. There are so many things you begin to discover. It's like researching, surfing. There are so many things you begin to discover. So many so many things you need to get conscious of when you are working. It makes you more equipped. You get, there are some things that normally you don't know, but when you start working with it, you are pushed to go beyond the normal.
Thank you for your solid points. I appreciate both of you. Moving on, I want us to discuss about the possibility of AI creating new genres. If I remember what I was taught in my first year of school, when I took, I think, what course was that? I think it was use of English. I think that was second semester when we talked about the, I think, gens of, is it writing or literature in this case? I really can't remember. We talked about prose, we talked about drama, we talked about poetry. I remember, at least I think I remember that, yes. Do you think artificial intelligence can create brand new kinds of writing, maybe new styles, new formats that we haven't seen before? Who would like to go first?
I don't mind going first. I think there is a possibility that could happen. But I would like to say that such thing would happen majorly due to the influence of the human being that is in the loop. Because artificial intelligence is a facilitator, and as a result, by good prompting and just using AI as a tool that it is, it facilitates whoever is using it to be able to do things that would ordinarily be laborious, ordinarily be strenuous, stressful. And over time, you see that new things start popping up, new media of doing things start popping up, new styles, formats, because AI helps people do things faster, better, and more efficiently. So with the same resources, you could take it over and beyond, and instead of just optimizing already existing workflows and formats, there could be a rewriting of how things are done altogether.
How about you?
Well, the truth is, I've not really thought about it, but I think from like my writing experience and all of those things, I don't know. I feel like the only thing I see that can be created is like we can have like, let's call it a work relationship, like communication. I don't know how to put it. You know, there are sometimes that you communicate with the AI and you get to some point, you just be like, let me just leave this guy alone because sometimes he's not getting what I want. But we can have something like a communication, like a communication flow. Maybe you choose like a level that, okay, this is the thing I want to talk about. This, like, I don't know, for those that use Quibbot, we have like, okay, maybe you want it to be standard, they want it to be educational, all of those things. So you don't have to go through the stress of trying to say, um, sound me like this and all of those things that people do. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So I don't know. I feel like that's just it majorly. Aside that, I've not really thought about anything like essential that we can improvise on or something.
All right. Thank you both. Um, I would like both of you to give an advice to those who are willing to start out their careers as writers. If you could give one advice, what would it be?
Okay. Well, I think for me, the first thing I'll tell you is what's your goal as a writer? Some people are majorly writing. I'm not saying you should not write to like make money and all of those, but if your only reason is, I think I cannot do other tech skills because it's quite difficult. Let me try writing. Writing is not for fun and vibes. There are sometimes that it's not funny. There are sometimes that it's very, very annoying. So if you're somebody that have like high standard and you are very concerned about how you want your work to do, you cannot just rush it. You cannot just, like Victor said, not just go to ChatGPT or to Gemini and say, this is why I stop, continue for me, add how I want it to be, and all of those things. There is a kind of way you want it to come out. You have to be able to stay there for a long time to get the desired result that you want. So writing is not just something you dabble in. I feel like unlike other tech skills that you can actually learn. It's not like you cannot learn how to write, but it is very easy for you to start writing when it comes natural. And even though I do believe that everybody is a writer, but not everybody can write creatively. So you have to know that, do I think that this thing is something I can stay with for a very long time? There are so many people that when they're telling you their story, they'll tell you at some point they were a writer, they left it, and all of those things. If you want to be serious about writing, you really need to know that it takes a lot. I think there was a time, I think it was Tiwa now, last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was in my DM and oh, you want to start writing on Medium and all of those things. And I think if I can't remember clearly, the first thing I said is that, why are you writing? You can't just say, okay, because Medium is the next big thing or WordPress is the next big thing, let me start writing. Why are you writing? You have to be there for a reason, to fill a gap. And the reason why I asked him exactly why is because if he did not have a why, or if he didn't have a why, then right now you will not be writing again, because if you were just writing for moment's sake, like let me just write and go, maybe yes, you can call yourself a part-time, like they do say, writer, or a once in a while writer. But if you want to enter writing full blown, you have to have a reason. And while finding the reason, you have to fall in love with writing, so that writing in turn can actually fall in love with you, and then you see it as something very easy. It's no longer something that gets tasking for you again. Writing is more difficult than people think it is. People think it's just pen and paper. Let me write something fancy. Let me do the first alphabet of your name. Let me sit and write a poem for you. It is beyond that. It is seeing what people do not naturally see. For example, if you give everybody flower and say some people tell you something about flowers, I can tell you that the writer is in the midst of those people might talk about flower, and all they are talking about is very related to that flower, and it's the last line that will bring you to the flower, because they let their mind go wild, they let their mind explore. They take the very good step to imagine. They are very confident in their life. I think that we do not want to do like enslaving it. So writing is more than just what you think it is. Writing is a lot. And plus, if you want to even be a good writer, there are so many things, there are so many skills you have to learn, and so many things, really, when it comes to like language. See, now, Prof studied law, but he said something about him having something to do with literature, because at some point, there are some things you want to understand for some things to come to you naturally. So you also have to learn. So people that want to be writers should not come and say, I'm running away from several classes, from YouTube videos in graphic design or in web development. As I said, let me come to writing since it's easy. My love, is not easy over here also. You need to put in required effort.
Okay, Prof, in just a statement, in a short statement, what would be your advice for those who want to start out writing?
Just write. The more you write, the better you get. You have to put in the work.
All right. Okay, so we're about to round off. But before we go, I want us to discuss how schools, teachers, and publishers should respond to the AI frenzy in creative writing. So I think I should ask Teni this question. No, particularly because of our background in English literature and how do you guys say that? Is it emphasis in literature? Yes, I think that's how you guys say it. Yes, that's how you guys say it. Okay, literature emphasis. All right. How should writing curriculums change in a world where AI can write better than students?
Well, from all we've said, I think it's not safe to saying AI writes better than students. Students can make AI write better. Like we've already come to a conclusion that it is what we give AI that AI is giving in return.
Uh-huh.
So let's correct that first. Then secondly,
Okay.
I think one thing everybody, including the teachers, is that the world is evolving. The world is evolving. And even they themselves, they need to evolve, they need to upgrade to the new. Now, for students, because AI is here, doesn't mean that um, life is easy. I have to now start using AI to do my assignment. You need to also put in the work, like Prof said. He said
Yes.
you have to spend time there also to get your required results. So everybody's trying to achieve more, to aim for more. Because it's when you start aiming for more that you know that okay, I think this is just the bare minimum. I can do better and all of those things. And even when the teachers to start they start getting open to things, they will be seeing the brighter side. Because one of the issue we have to our lecturers, and the surprising thing about these people, I'm sorry to say, is that they also use AI, but when their students use AI, their own head correct. If everybody wants, if everybody wants to be truthful to themselves, if it's even better for them to even like take a course to empower the students, enlighten them that yes, AI is here and we know it's here to stay. But how can you be better? How can we be better? Instead of polishing the whole AI agenda as a bad thing like they used to do. So I think that's just it for me. They make you sound so bad. That's why you see that some students do not be doing it secretly. They'll be you hear some lecturers threatening their students. I will test it with Tonitin. I will test it with this one, I will test it with that one. Even somebody that sat down and wrote with their head can come back and say it is AI written. So what do you want to do?
Mm.
This is the world where everybody needs to understand that we need to get practical, no longer theoretical. We need to be practical. And now the practicality comes in terms of presentation. That's to show how far, to show how deep the person has studied. So I think that's just it.
All right. Prof, how should writing curriculums change let's say, in an AI-driven world?
I have watched quite some content about this specific topic, and I believe that curriculum should change, and it should be in such a way that it is reactive to what obtains in the outside world, in the job market and what have you. In the sense that the point of education is to prepare the students for what they are going to meet outside. So that should be the focus of the curriculum. Now, as to bypass the issue as they would see it with AI, it should be a very simple thing, actually. One of the most widely mentioned solutions or possible solutions is that the idea of giving take-home assignments that have significant mark attached should be reduced. Maybe not eliminated, but at least reduced. So if you want to test the writing of a student, it should be in class where they cannot or probably should not be able to access AI. So it is the student with 1 hour or 2 hours or what have you, and they are to write. Then you know for a fact that AI does not help them bypass that particular test. So that's a potential way to look at it, to adjust the curriculum and then adjust the way the student is tested for writing.
Thank you for that. And down to the last question. Prof, are publishers ready to deal with AI authored manuscript and shifting definitions of originality?
Well, not quite. As it stands, it's still kind of a wild west. The industry is in flux, and services like Amazon KDP, that's Kindle, I can't remember what it stands for, but it's basically self-publishing, right? Make it easy for anybody to publish anything. And there's so many courses online that would tell you that with this hack, you can pump out several AI books per day and be paid for it, right? So it's something that is rife, it's saturated. We are seeing it happen on a daily basis. And so far, like I said, it's a wild west. They are not ready. And legally speaking, there is nothing wrong with what they are doing currently. So you can't necessarily speak ill of what they are doing from a legal point of view. And when it comes to shifting definition of originality, that's also a question of law. And as of now, there are very few laws or legal principles regarding originality, especially as it relates to AI. So over time, it's probably going to evolve into something more concrete. But for now, it's largely a Wild West.
Thank you for that. Teni, your own thoughts?
No, they are not. And reason being that so many of them, which just like he said, I will not blame them. They will not come to terms with the fact that, and I don't think they would come to terms very soon with the fact that your input and your effort is still there while using AI, as Victor said, because they believe that, because I don't know, I feel like if they come to terms, so many people will bring in rubbish script to them. Like, author would not resonate with script and would lack good writings. And for a reader like me, it will be very sad to see, because we are supposed to get better, not to get worse, literally. So no, and I would not even support them at that. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. I feel like if you are doing something publishing, you should know that there is a burden on you to do better, to be original. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. How will you feel after using AI or partial AI to write your script? Then you will now have the chest to put no part of this book should be copied or something. Well, you can believe that your effort is there, but not as it was before. So no, I will still agree with them that they should not totally accept publishing AI manufactured script.
All right. Thank you both. And with that, we have come to the end of this episode. Big thanks to Victor and Teni for making out the time to be here with us in the studio today. I appreciate you both. But before you leave, I have, let's say, a bonus question also to ask both of you. And it's our tradition now. By the end of each episode, I ask my guests before they leave, if you could use AI to solve any one problem, maybe any problem at all, what would it be? What would that problem be? Who wants to go first? Or do you want to think about it?
Yeah, I think I actually want to think about it.
Okay. Prof, do you have any ideas in mind? If you could use AI to solve one
There are
problem.
a couple of ideas. Off the top of my head, I would say that one of the major advantages of AI is efficiency.
Is what?
Efficiency.
Okay.
And there are multiple problems that are being solved by AI to different levels, from agriculture to power and optimization. Yes, AI draws a lot of power itself, but there are a lot of gains. And even to the medical aspect, we have seen AI using variational autoencoders, for example, to spot anomaly detection, right? They have used that to spot cancers before they develop, before they get into sepsis and what have you. But personally, if I could use AI to solve anything, I would probably be between food security and power. Those would be the ones that I think I might go for, because already the life expectancy is at the highest it's been possibly ever. So I think that is already pretty good when you look at the global average. But power can be better, particularly from clean sources, and food security can also be better. So if I was to pick one, food security.
So, Teni, have you thought of something?
I don't know. I've really not thought about it like that. Not like I'm not a change maker, but literally, like, exactly, most of the things that I'm passionate about, at least, they are being worked upon. So my major thing then used to be like an application where you can meet people from like all over the world, and maybe from language learners, and you can have like conversation with them. And I think those apps like that are already being built, even though it's not ready for like all languages. Do you get? So majorly what I need and all of those things are already there. I don't know. Sure, but majorly the things I'm more passionate about have been like settled and all of those things.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Once again, I appreciate both of you for making out the time to be with us in the studio for this episode. Thank you very much. And to the audience, I say a very big thank you for staying with us till the very end. I hope you learned one or two things. And in case you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us on our X handle. That is disruption_AI. But if you didn't get that, the links would be attached to the description of this episode. And if you have questions for the guests, the links to their profile would also be included. So you can reach out to them and ask them any questions that you might have. So I say thank you very much for staying with us on this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.